To kind of keep the conversation going about the overall NBA, it's been a wild season this year. We saw a lot of craziness from, I feel like this was the season of comebacks. No lead was safe. I guess if somebody had to ask you, obviously we haven't had the champion crowned yet, but just talking regular season and talking about the playoffs thus far, what's been like the biggest or most important storyline to you this season? Like if somebody said, hey, the NBA season ended today, what's the biggest storyline or moment for you this year so far?
I didn't know you were going to ask me this. I guess that's give me a little bit. Let me throw that around in my brain a little bit.
Okay.
While you're thinking about that, we were already talking about the Warriors, right? I heard this on the radio today, and it really got me thinking. We talk about, who's the best player in NBA history. You got some people that say it's Wilt, some people say MJ, some people say LeBron, some people say Kareem. I mean, there's so many names that you could say as far as the greatest of all time. I mean, there are some great players. You got so many there. Best defensive player. I mean, you can go on and on and on. You got Elijah Wan. Pippen was up there for many years. Gary Payton. We've got all these
Kawhi Leonard.
Right, Kawhi Leonard now, yeah. But we've got all these things. But think about this is what I heard, and it really made me rock. How many people can question whether or not Steph Curry is the greatest shooter in NBA history? I mean, when you talk about those other greats, and yeah, there's some other great shooters, but from what Curry's done in the past, 4 years or whatever, 4 or 5 years, hitting 400 threes in a regular in a single season. I mean, the numbers that he was hitting. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I was talking about history, and me growing up watching Michael Jordan. It was just kind of like I was in awe. Like, I was like, what do I do? Because I enjoy it, but you have to just sit back and you can't get too crazy about it because you got to enjoy the greatness because it doesn't happen all the time. What are your thoughts on Steph Curry and what he's been able to accomplish with the Warriors and just overall in his career?
Shooting 40, 50, 90, right? It's not about just how many he chucks up, but how many he makes.
Yep.
And him being coached by Steve Kerr. I thought about this a couple weeks ago. What if Steve Kerr coached James Harden and Mike D'Antoni coached Steph Curry?
Ooh.
Where would they be in terms of their 3-point attempts, right? The way they play and where they play. I think that's going to answer my question there. His game, I think, his shooting, but his game has become more well-rounded. Now, against the Blazers, Seth had his number, and I feel like there's been a lot of turnovers in these playoffs, like a lot of pretty blatant turnovers. But his defense is improving, yearly, and that speaks to it too, because he's not just relying on his outside shot. He used to go inside a lot more, but someone had said, I think what's most honorable or to be mentioned about Curry is that he did it with OKD, so they know they could do it. But the guy is so humble and just recognizes play is play and the league is league, and he's okay with not being always number one. He is confident enough in himself. He's confident enough in himself to have shooting slumps too. He's confident enough to have another superstar or superstars on his team, and that not affect him. That's what I appreciate, I think, most about Steph Curry, but also like what that family, what that they've brought to the game is a humility and a just sense of hard work that it speaks for itself.
Yeah, even being somebody who doesn't like the Warriors, I can't deny greatness. And Steph Curry, I agree with Pat, greatest shooter of all time. I mean, this is a guy that literally, when he crosses half court, he's in range and can shoot that shot from just past half court on a regular basis with little to no effort. And I mean, a lot of people forget about when he first came into the league, the ankle injuries were happening all the time. And once he got that figured out, it was curtains for the rest of the NBA. I mean, it's a different kind of basketball. I mean, it's a lot of people that are older weren't raised watching people who shoot the ball as prolific as him and James Harden do. So they hate it because of that. But you can't stop it. You can hate all you want. You can't stop it.
I totally agree with that. And I think that brings up another kind of question about how people respond to styles of play. And I looked at the ratings, and the TV ratings are down, for the Raps and the Bucks series. But I think Texas I'm bringing it a little bit. I don't mean to focus too much on James Harden, but watching Steph Curry get his points through shooting on the range is beyond the circle is so much more rewarding as a fan, and it's more meaningful, and it doesn't stop the flow of the game in the same way that James Harden gets buckets, but he does it he gets inside, but he gets it through the foul. And I think that's something that I'm glad Houston lost, because I really get tired of watching that. I know Middleton can do it a little bit when he's shooting, everybody's got tricks, but there's a difference between where you're getting your points and how you're getting your points. That Steph Curry, there's something to recognize about that.
Yeah, James Harden is one of the best players in the NBA, but I would tend to agree with you. Watching him dribble the air out the ball, and a lot of those times, those flagrant fouls that he gets, it bores me. I get tired of watching it. But at the same time, I know the old adage: if you don't like it, stop it. And nobody seems to be able to stop the way James Harden plays. But if I had a choice on who I had to watch,
how do you stop that? How do you stop that? They just stop. They don't call fouls committed on James Harden. They can't do that. So he's sort of put them in a weird. I think that style of play has put the league at odds, and I wonder if it's going to be addressed over the summer. It was an issue with Hack-a-Shack, but it's along those same lines, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's along those same lines, and it stops the length. It stops and starts and stops and starts and stops and starts the game so much that we don't always realize that him getting to the line like that, and him stopping the game like that, he's giving his team more chances to regroup, right? And you could say that's on the other side too, but they're going to be there. He's in possession of the ball there. I think it's something that the league should look at, that sort of forced foul that, there's that split second where the player knows he's drawing the foul and he's just heaving the ball up. It doesn't even look like it's even going towards the bucket. But
him and Chris Paul are two of the greatest actors of our time.
Yeah. So
but I like I think that's a huge problem that either way I don't think we're going to see that much of in however the finals shake out.
So, Jill, I have one final question for you. We're talking about the NBA playoffs right now. We're talking about the finals. We're talking about the Warriors' 5 straight finals. Well, wasn't what 7 years ago when one player made it the 7 straight finals? We're talking about LeBron James and the dominant player that he was. I can't let you get off here without getting your thoughts on the whole saga there. With the Lakers and, just LeBron James just not making the playoffs, not the finals, but just the playoffs, and what you think about that?
Well, what we're seeing right now in these playoffs is it's strong and supreme organizations, right? It's not just, one player doesn't get you there. I think when LeBron was in Cleveland and they won that championship, it was Dan Gilbert, he put him in a position to win, and David Griffin was excellent, and I'm excited to see what he does with the Pels. I think it's the organization, and it's such chaos in LA, and I try not to pay that much attention, and I don't have that much insight on it, but just listening. I think what spoke volumes to me is just listening to Rob Pelinka, not even exactly what he said about Magic. Just watch him speak, and I don't trust him. Yeah, I don't trust him. Oh, he was a former agent. You can never trust them. Yeah, and I'm not saying don't hire former agents in your organization, but a guy like that leading your organization, I got a sense of like an ambulance chaser lawyer, when he said,
Whoa.
But then when he said that about, I just had conversations with Magic, it was just such a snow job, and I didn't like that. And I feel for LeBron in a lot of ways. I really do. I think it was lousy that Magic didn't give him a little bit of a heads up, but that happened. And Kurt Rambis has a lot more to do with this than many of us probably realize. And hey, the Knicks weren't any good when Kurt Rambis was on as an assistant coach. So Kurt Rambis actually has a lot to do with this. And I just think the Buss family, there's turmoil in that family.
Yeah, there
and
is.
if they don't function as a family, how are they gonna work the organization? I just think it comes from the ground up.
I can respect that. Well, we definitely want to thank you for hopping on the podcast with us, Jill. We never let a guest come on the show without giving them an opportunity to let people know where they can follow them on social media, where they can find their work. So at this time, the floor is yours. Let the people know where they can follow you. I was talking to Pat before you hopped on, and I was like, man, I love her Twitter profile where it says, what did I say? It said, I'm in the business of buckets, and the market is way, way, way up. I like that.
way up. I think, let me answer that question quickly from before. What has stood out for the year? And maybe it might be a bit of this Lakers Magic situation just because it is so fresh. I think the chaos and the disappointment of the Celtics, I think, is another storyline that really stood out for me this year. And I'm not going to bring the Bucks in it just because I've watched the evolution of the Bucks, and we're all kind of like, yeah, the Bucks are really, really a good team. We know this. Quite where they are, I wasn't expecting this, and I'm not going to put negative things out into the universe, but I think D'Angelo Russell was also a huge surprise for me this year, and I really like Brooklyn, and I think there's sort of, that organization is redeeming itself, and I enjoy that. But on the side note of social media, I'm at Courtside Chip. Many friends call me JP. I coach basketball, and when I tell the kids I'm JP, it turned out they thought I said Chippie, and it just stuck. So Courtside Chip, and I'm based out of Salt Lake. I'm from Wisconsin. I love basketball. Do travel. So I will likely see you guys this summer at Summer League. I'll be there in Utah and in Nevada, Las Vegas. So at Courtside Chip, talk to me. Let's communicate. Buckets and dimes, nuts and bolts. Fear the deer.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We'll have you back on again real soon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
And that was Jill joining us for Buckets and Dimes, talking a little NBA playoffs. A lot of good points she brought up. And the funny part is when she was talking about the storylines that stood out for her for the season, I have the same ones, man. The Celtics exploding, LeBron not making the playoffs. There's been a lot of, we haven't even got to the finals yet. And you can write a movie about the season so far. So definitely an interesting conversation there. Brought up a lot of really good points. Swinging things over to the West, because we got to talk about the Western Conference. Of course, we saw Portland Trailblazers got swept. They go down 4-0 against the Warriors. Things that stand out to me about this series, not once, but twice, the Portland Trailblazers had double-digit leads against Golden State. And I don't know if it's nerves, fear, what Jill talked about the having not been there before, but both times the Portland Trailblazers lose those double-digit leads to the Warriors. And here we are, Golden State, 5 years straight in the NBA Finals. What are some of your thoughts and takeaways from that series?
Well, Steph Curry, number one. I mean, you talk about a guy, they kind of said, oh, whatever, it's KD. Without KD, the Warriors can't win. And great. I hear what you're saying, because KD is one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world, and the matchup nightmare of all time. We watched what he did. We watched what he did in the prior round, where he just pulled up over top of people and was just shooting shots. and they couldn't stop him. But a couple of things. One, we talk about Curry